What's going on, everybody? Cheers, happy Wednesday, and welcome to Trades Lady Happy Hour, where, if you're not familiar with what we do here, every week I meet with another awesome woman from the automotive and adjacent trades, learn about them, hear their story, hear their challenges, hear their wins, all in an attempt to just kind of create more awareness to the amazing women who are out there kicking butt in the trades. Been doing this for some time now. There are a number of past episodes, about 70, that you can always check out on my IGTV tab, so definitely go and check those out. I want to thank you all for joining and tuning in on this lovely Wednesday evening. Today I am joined by Allie. Now, she is relatively new to the automotive industry. She just has a few years under her belt, but I think she's got a really interesting story, and I'm very interested to hear about her journey because she came from a little bit of a non-traditional past for becoming an automotive technician. So I'm really excited to hear from her. Hopefully she will be joining us shortly. I'm going to see if I see her in the room. Allie, if you're there, keep your eye out for the invite. There you are. Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
How are you?
Well, I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for saying yes and joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for asking me.
Absolutely. So really quickly, well, not really quickly, take as much time as you'd like. Introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm Allie. I'm a fourth year apprentice automotive service technician. I live in Canada. It's really cold here right now.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Come to Phoenix. It's really warm here.
Yeah, I bet. I don't really know what else to say.
That's okay. That's perfect. So you come from kind of a non-traditional path for becoming an auto mechanic. What did you do in your last life?
In my previous life, I was a hairdresser.
I love it. How long had you been doing that?
I was in hairdressing for 8 years.
Oh, wow. You don't look old enough for all of that, but
I'm 32.
Really?
Yeah.
You look amazing. That's awesome. I mean, 32 is still really young, but so how on earth did you go from being a hairdresser to becoming an automotive technician?
It's kind of a long story, I guess.
Please share it.
I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So many years ago, when I was talking about my future, I wanted to take a trade. But at the time, like when I was 18, trades didn't really have the best reputation. So it was all about going to a good university and getting a degree. And so I tried out university. I wasn't very good at it. Didn't finish anything. Kind of tried a few things like science and art and whatever else. And then I thought, well, this isn't working for me, so I will go to trade school. And my mom actually talked me into being a hairdresser because she said I was so creative and it was a creative trade. And so I went into it and I actually really liked it until I didn't.
Until I didn't.
Yeah. And so when my son was like a year and a half old, I kind of had one of those moments where I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I actually went back to school, and my husband was so stressed. He was like, please don't go. This is going to be so hard. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to suck. But
did he not want you to go because of the trade that you were pursuing, or just the idea of going back to school and leaving a paid job and having a young kid?
It was more about the money, like financially. I couldn't go onto employment insurance because I was leaving a good job to go to school.
Right.
And so it was basically, well, now I have to get a part-time job. So I actually worked at the gas station that is down the street from my house for a few months. And it was horrible.
What was horrible about it?
Just the hours. Like I worked until midnight sometimes, and trying to study and parent and work was just so hard. So I actually went back to hairdressing on the weekends. So I would work on school for automotive stuff during the week, and then Saturday and Sunday I did hair. And it was just like, I don't even know how I lived, but I made it out alive on the other end.
It's a lot. I mean, I give you a whole lot of credit doing a job and parenting, and your son was young at the time. I mean, probably still is relatively, but was super young, and that's a lot by itself. And then you add school, you add all the rest of it. You were hustling hard.
Yeah, it was craziness.
So why did you pick automotive?
It was actually something that I always kind of lived in the back of my head. Like I knew zero about cars. When I started school, I knew how to check my oil. I knew how to put washer fluid in, but that was pretty much it. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know how to change a tire.
Wow.
So I kind of like, some of my family members were really hesitant about this change. I got a lot of, are you sure? Are you sure? But I don't regret this decision at all. I learned so much every day, and it's like everything is a puzzle, and I love that about cars. It can be really frustrating, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, I am with you on that. I'm a total puzzle person. I always was, and that's what I love about it. There's always something new to learn. You're always untangling the mystery of something, especially with diagnostics. And it's like uber frustrating, and then when you win, it's the most satisfying. Yeah, most amazing thing. So you knew nothing about cars. You hadn't been involved in working on them before.
No.
What, like, this is a huge transition to make without really any experience knowing whether you were going to like it or not. What precipitated this? Like what?
I don't know. Honestly, I think I've always really admired people who work with their hands, and like the idea of just getting, down and dirty like at work was so intriguing to me. I've always loved to work with my hands. Like hairdressing is very much like hand work.
Yeah, no, totally.
But I don't know. I like cars. I like classic cars. I like everything about that kind of stuff. And it was a world that I didn't have any experience with. So I think that's what made it so intriguing to me. I just wanted to learn as much as I could.
Did you see advertisements for schools, or were you like?
There's really only one school to go for trades.
Okay.
It's like a technical school.
Okay.
And in Canada, we have a journey person system.
Which is so
yeah, which is kind of neat. So you work X amount of hours and then you go to school for X amount of hours. And because I could not get a job in a shop to save my life, I actually went to school for something called pre-employment, which is a 10-month course that basically sets you up with the basics.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah, so it counted as like my first year and second year of schooling. So all I needed was the trade time in experience. And then I went back to school for my third year of schooling. And so now I have all the trades time to get my fourth. I just have to wait for school.
Gotcha. That's so fascinating to me. I've over the years become more familiar with how Canada does it, and I think it's so amazing. I'm so envious of what you guys do as far as the trades. I think it just makes so much sense. But I didn't know about this piece about the pre-work, because I feel like that's the biggest challenge that newbies in general to the industry, but particularly women face, is I really want a job. I have no experience. Nobody will hire me without experience. How the hell do I get experience?
Yeah, basically. Before I went to school, I actually was set up with my current boss. My mom's friend was raving about her mechanic being a woman, and I should go talk to her, and she's awesome. And so I actually just reached out to her and was like, can I talk to you about your journey in the field? And she was like, don't go to school, get a job first. And that's how she started.
Okay.
But I couldn't. I applied at so many places, and I'm sure the people at the hiring desk were just looking at my resume going, 8 years as a hairdresser, like,
right.
What? Like, I didn't have tools. I don't own a car. you know, for fixing up.
You
Like
don't own a car?
well, I own a car, but I
Oh,
don't own like a project car.
gotcha. I was like,
So it
that's
was
even
just
more
like,
amazing.
yeah, these people probably were just like, who the heck is this person and why does she want to work here?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I actually, when I finished school, or when I was just about to finish school, I emailed my boss again. At the time, she was not my boss, but I basically just said, like, I want a job at your shop. I won't work anywhere else. And I would not stop bugging her until finally she was like, okay, I'll find work for you, I guess.
I love that. And I think that's such an important point for people to hear, like perseverance and persistence and not giving up. Like, obviously, we don't want to irritate people, but like,
Yeah.
because
Or
that
like
doesn't necessarily
harassment.
work either. Right? Like, as a former hiring person for an auto repair shop, like that consistency and confidence, I think that it takes to keep poking and saying I'm worth investing in, I think goes a really long way when you're first starting out.
Yeah, it was stressful because I knew that what I was getting into when I was getting into this trade. I knew that the majority of the people hiring and the majority of my coworkers were probably going to be male.
Yeah.
So I wasn't surprised about that, but I
Right.
knew that she owned a shop, she was a tech, and she was a she. So I was like, I need to work here. Like, I can't work anywhere else.
That's awesome. So tell me about this place, because I think, I hear a lot of women who say that they want to one day open up an all female shop. It's hard to do that because there's not a ton of women out there who are doing this work, and the ones that are established, like they're either doing their own business or they're happy where they're at. So tell me about this shop that you're at and what it's all about, what it's like.
Um, well, we aren't actually all women.
Okay.
Um, it's a small crew. So we have one service advisor. He works front desk, and then we
Okay.
have myself, and I have one coworker, and he's a man right
Okay.
now. I think the plan is to hire the next tech that is hired is going to be a female, or so someone who's not a man, because it gets a little overwhelming after a while. We have a shop helper, like he's not a technician, but he knows a lot about tires and stuff, so he helps especially in the busy times, and he's also helping the front desk. And it's me and three men a lot of times, and it's just like, this is too much, like I need some, especially because my boss she's just this crazy driven human being, and she's taken on all these projects, so sometimes she's not even at the shop with me.
Got it.
And I'm like, I need more ladies in this building.
I mean, I think it's amazing that you even have any other women that you're working with, especially so early on in your career, because I was in the industry as a technician for at least 6 years before I even met another female technician, let alone worked with one. And it was just it was a whole different game. But I didn't even know any other women existed for the longest time.
It is kind of weird. I know every time I see a woman in a shop, I'm always like, hey, you, like, we should be best friends. I actually went to school with one. So in my class of 27 pre-employment students, there were two of us, and we still talk to this day, every day. Like,
That's
she
awesome.
basically found me and was like, we're going to be best friends. And I'm like, yes, we are. Because there aren't very many of us.
No.
Maybe one per shop, every other shop, if that.
If that, yeah. I mean, it's interesting because there's definitely way more women mechanics, technicians than most people realize, but there's still so few in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, no, definitely.
And never do they get to work together.
Very rarely, very rarely. I worked with another woman at a dealership once, which was awesome. And then, of course, at my shop, I had other women who worked for me. But I ran into the same thing that your boss is experiencing. Like, and in the end, I wound up really liking it. I thought I wanted to have an all-female shop, and there's just not enough of them to do that. And wound up hiring some guys, and I realized that it's actually really awesome when you have that combination, because there's everybody brings something else to the table, and having that diversity was just a really, really cool thing. How are the guys that you work with you?
They're, I think sometimes they're like too helpful.
Talk about that.
But also they're really supportive and awesome. I don't want to like out anybody, but the shop is LGBTQ friendly and diverse in that sense. Like we have a couple staff members who are gay, and so the dynamics are just like really awesome because there's all these different people coming together. We all get along really well. We're all really close. Two of them are brothers.
Oh, nice.
Which can be
challenging and awesome all at the same time.
They definitely pick on each other quite a bit, but it's like we just have lots of fun. Most days we're always, joking, laughing. It kind of gets you through the stressful moments.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think a good work environment makes a world of difference. Talk to me about the too helpful.
Oh yeah. I notice it more at school. It's kind of like when someone goes, oh, I need help lifting this super heavy thing. Man, over there, you come, like it's almost like I got overlooked a little. Like I'm not strong. I use that in quotations.
Right. different types of strength.
Yeah. And maybe just thinking like that I don't know something when I do. I'm pretty vocal. Like I can be kind of spicy. Something that I learned later in my life. I didn't used to be very vocal or opinionated or standing up for myself, but being in this trade, you need to be a little bit more spicy.
A little bit, absolutely. Do you think you learned it from being in the trades, or was there something else that kind of gave you that confidence? Because even getting through school and making that decision to say, I'm switching careers, I'm going back to school, like that takes some sass, that takes some confidence. Like, where did that come from, do you think?
I think it came from after I had my son, for sure. Having a kid is kind of just an experience all by itself. I wouldn't say it was the best, but after that, I kind of felt like, hey, there's probably not a lot that I can't do. And prioritizing my family led to trying to make my hairdressing job work for me better. And when that didn't work and I was, being vocal about my needs and stuff, I thought, okay, well, this isn't working and I'm communicating what I need and I'm not getting it. So time for a change. And now it's just like, if I don't communicate what I need right away, how is anyone going to know?
Amen to that. I think far too many of us learn that lesson far too late in life, or not at all, right? We can't get what we want if we don't ask for it or if we don't communicate it. And I love that the way you explain how that transition happened for you. Like obviously having a child is life-changing, but it was like you started building evidence, like little piece at a time, that when you spoke up, it worked out and like good things happened and you wound up getting what it was you wanted. So I think that's really awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. There was something else I wanted to ask you about, something you said, and we were talking about the being too helpful thing. I feel like I've experienced that a lot in the industry, even now, 20 some odd years of experience within the industry, and I still encounter it. How do you handle it? Because I feel like a lot of women experience that. And how do we handle, not being insulting back to the person? I think a lot of it comes out of naivety. Like it's people being like, oh, let me help you. And then they push you out of the way and do it themselves.
That happened at school a lot. And after a while, I was just kind of like, no, thanks. But yeah, you kind of have, like with my coworkers, they're all awesome. So I don't really struggle with that. Oh, sorry, I have a cat.
That's all right. My orange man is probably going to be here interrupting very shortly as well. I think it's the thing about the orange cats. They like the attention.
Yeah, I think so. When I was in school, I kind of got to the point where I just sort of thought, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to win, which was kind of like the mantra that was just getting me through. And I'm like, I didn't care, I'm not going to be a jerk or rude, but if someone was taking an experience away from me or preventing me from learning something, it was like, no, you can't be here anymore. Like, you gotta go. So I kind of approach it that way while I'm working too. We recently hired a new person, and this person is more experienced than me, and he's actually my journey person, which means he's my mentor trainer, and he knows a lot of stuff, but he doesn't know what I know, right, or what I don't know. So sometimes he'll kind of say things in a little bit, it comes out condescending. I don't think he means it that way, but
sure,
I have to say, like, I know this, or you don't have to explain this to me. I know this. Right. And you just have to be confident, I guess.
Yeah. I think a lot of women and new inexperienced technicians in general could probably use to hear that. Like, I think we tend to get insulted when people assume we don't know something. And really, from the flip side perspective, it's really not a common thing for people to know how to teach, right? Yeah. It's not very common. And to be able to say, do you know this, before you assume either that they do or that they don't, right? Because assuming in either direction doesn't feel good.
No. Right. Or could lead to a mistake, or,
Yeah.
Whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it can be really frustrating to work with someone who is questioning you. I think that probably happens for guys too. Maybe it happens more for women.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Like, I just have experience with one shop, and this shop has been so awesome that I just have no real crappy stories to tell.
No, that's phenomenal. I love hearing that. It's a big change, right? I think there's still a lot of crappy stories out there, but the fact that I hear as many positive stories as I do at this point in the game, it gives me hope that there is change happening, and that more and more women are getting into the trades and not experiencing awful things. So it's good to hear that. How has your family been now? Both your parents, but also your husband, now that you've established yourself a little bit?
Everyone's pretty good. Like, obviously I get a lot of questions for, hey, my vehicle is it's like, oh, well, I don't know. But I think my husband's definitely benefited from it. I put a battery in his vehicle last year in like -45, so but
you gotta
the only
love
one who's
him.
not super on board is my grandma. And my grandma, like, I love her. She's super traditional. She brings her vehicle to me to fix, but every time she comes to my work, she's like, I still can't believe you work here. It's fine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What does she think? Like, what about it can't she believe? Like,
I think it's just unheard of for women. Like, in her, I don't know. My grandma, she got married when she was 16. She started having babies at 18. Like, she didn't really work. She was a stay-at-home mom. And it was just like a different life. And then now you have women working in, positions where they never would have back in the day. Like, I found out when my grandpa was really young that he used to rebuild engines. Oh. But I didn't find that out until I joined the trade.
Interesting.
So I think, just her seeing me doing something that her husband did back in the day, like, it's dirty work and she doesn't like that either.
Yeah.
And it's something a woman wouldn't do,
Right.
But she's still, she brings her car to me to fix. So
I love that, though. I love that she's like super hesitant about it and then still brings her car to you.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So you're brand new to the trades. You're learning, or to auto mechanics, and you're learning all of this stuff as you go.
Sorry, I gotta plug my phone in. Keep going.
Oh, gotta keep it charged. Yeah. So I'm curious how your your journey as far as learning has gone, going from knowing virtually nothing about cars to being an accomplished technician. How was that for you? And yeah, I guess what have been the biggest challenges in that from a learning standpoint?
Well, there's a lot to know. Just like everything is new. Every day is new. I work in an aftermarket shop, so I see everything. I see Chevy, Ford, Mitsubishi, Porsche, like anything that exists comes through. I've worked on old things. Usually we don't do a lot of old stuff. I don't really see a lot of new. I think the newest vehicle I saw was today. It was from 2019.
That makes sense, though. Things are still under warranty.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, everything is brand new to me, even after all this time. There's the odd thing that I can now officially start saying, hey, I've seen this before. And that can be stressful. Like, I don't like making mistakes, and I don't like, I don't want to screw up. And so that I put a lot of pressure on myself to, first of all, do everything perfectly, which is unattainable.
No, definitely not. But
I
it doesn't
also
stop us from doing that to ourselves.
I know, right? Like, why can't I be perfect? But I also just approach every problem slowly and thoughtfully, and luckily I don't work on a flat rate pay. So
I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
My boss is awesome, and they know, they're really understanding. They're like, okay, the book time is 2 hours, we've given you 4 or whatever, you have time to figure it out. There's always someone there if I have a question. I have such a great support system for when I don't know what I'm doing, which is awesome. And like the shop sets their employees up for success, which is super important. Putting people in this career and just letting them flounder is just so not conducive to creating people who A, love their job, and B, create a good reputation for the shop.
I could not agree more with that. I love hearing that she has you set up in that way, because it's true. We tend to, like, folks come out of tech school, they're not performing as master technicians right off the bat, which of course not. And we chastise them, and then we fire them because they're not up to par. And, like, well, yeah, like
it's such a weird culture too, because
really
it's so male driven for so long. It's almost like, people don't want to ask for help or feel like they can't ask for help. I'm like, you can totally rid somebody, and also help them at the same time. Like,
yeah. You just got real quiet for a second, just as a FYI. I don't know if you're locked in.
Oh, I think I put my hand over the microphone.
Don't do that.
Sorry.
I still heard what you were saying. You just got real quiet.
Yeah, with the phone charging now, it doesn't stand where I want it to.
Of course not. That's all right. Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think your attitude about approaching everything as everything is new right now. But at the end of the day, like, I so rarely even see the same things twice, because I'm working on all of the things, right? I'm still 20 some odd years in, dealing with things that I've never seen before. And the fact that you've already kind of gotten yourself used to and adapted to that, that's the way that things are, like, that's actually setting you up for success in the long run, because nobody knows everything.
Well, and that's what's so great about having female people, or people other than what's already been in this trade, is they bring a new perspective. It's nice when you can find someone that looks at a problem differently than you, and you can collaborate with them. Yeah. Because not everyone thinks the same way, and not everyone approaches something the same way, and what makes sense to someone might not make sense to me, or and
yeah,
you need sometimes it's a real team effort. You need all the perspectives to kind of figure out a problem.
Absolutely. Are all the technicians in your shop not flat rate, or is it
we all work salary?
I think that's awesome. And there's pros and cons to it, right? But I think you're right about the team piece of it. And I think that's something, so much of the automotive industry, independent shops you haven't experienced other than your shop, which is, sounds like a phenomenal shop, but so much of it is like, this is the way we've always done it. Why should we change? It's just the way it is. It's always going to be that way. And the flat rate system, I think just it it discourages people from working together, right?
Of
and
course.
and it has to be collaborative because I can't know everything, you can't know everything, and
Never will I know everything.
no, like I think even like the most experienced of us as technicians have experienced that moment where you're like so deep in a problem that you can't see what's like right in front of you, and somebody else walks up and they're like, oh, you mean that thing right there?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Me threading in power steering lines every time. I'm like, how did you do that? I just put it in. I'm like, oh gosh.
It's a feel you start to get after a while, but it takes a while to develop, right? It's like the eyeballs on the tips of your fingers. It takes a little while to get there.
Yeah.
What are the things you like the most about working in cars? What area is the car?
Oh, that's a good question. There really isn't anything I don't like working on right now, which
I love that.
I suppose is good because I have so much of my career ahead of me to hate things.
Plenty of time to hate things.
Yeah. We'll work on that later. I really like suspension work. I know it's grunty. It's like it takes a lot of manual strength, and it's really usually easy. It's like take this bolt out, put this thing in.
Yeah.
It's not complex, but I just love it. I love getting sweaty and dirty. I don't know. But I also love electrical stuff. I think electrical just makes sense to me. It's like complicated and I understand how to read the pictures, and half the time I'm like, I don't know, could be anything because I'm still learning about it, but I just find it so fascinating.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like I don't hear a lot of men say that electrical is their favorite part, but I hear a lot of women say that. And I don't know what that is, but I don't know if it's a challenge of it or just a different way of thinking, or
maybe they just they didn't have anyone to teach them.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, especially older guys, like
resistance.
Yeah, because it's something new. No pun intended there with resistance. But yeah, it's new, and it's like it's so overwhelming for people. But
I think
complicated.
It's cool. I understand that.
Right. It's complicated, and yet it's not at the same time. Like your attitude is perfect. I don't know. It could be anything. So let me follow the pattern and follow the path and see what happens. Like,
yeah, it is. Cars are getting more and more complex as far as that stuff goes. Sorry, my pets are fighting each other.
I feel your pain.
My dog and cat. Yeah, like cars, you scan a BMW and you've got 38 modules or whatever, and and it could be something like, oh, it was too cold today, so I decided to throw this code, or
well, especially where you live, my goodness.
Yeah, my car does some weird stuff in -40, but it's expected.
Right. -40 is like, that shouldn't exist.
I don't even know what that is in Fahrenheit.
It's cold. No matter what Fahrenheit, Celsius, whatever, it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, what part of Canada are you in?
I'm in Saskatchewan, so it's like the middle, the prairies.
Okay. Very cool. I actually know of a couple of shops in Saskatchewan, unsurprisingly enough.
Like nobody knows where Saskatchewan is.
I know. I don't know why I do, but
well, that's awesome. We made it, guys. Yeah.
How do you keep? I mean, I guess this is a weird question because you're learning so much to begin with, like right off the bat. But how does your shop keep folks current on new technology, because it is changing so quickly, like you said, new things coming out all the time?
Like our customers or
no, for the technicians, like how do you stay on top of stuff? Are you guys doing continuing education? Or?
We actually have been. We just started doing courses through Napa, which is new, so I've only taken a few. I'm a huge class nerd. when I was in hairdressing, I actually took 42 or 43 continued education classes through like the company that I worked for.
Oh, wow.
So as soon as something pops up, I'm like, yep, sign me up. I don't even care what it is.
That's
So
awesome.
there's been a couple things. There was a hybrid class.
Nice.
Yeah, just whatever there is, I like to learn it. And because I'm so new in my career, I feel like I should.
Yeah. No, you've got a great attitude. I feel like success is inevitable for you because you've got a great perspective on things and a great mindset coming into it. So it's exciting.
It is. I just like, I don't know, I'm so passionate about it.
I'm so in love with the fact that you came from like literally knowing nothing to being so passionate about it.
I think the knowing nothing helped fuel the passion too, because I was like, I gotta learn.
Yeah. Any things that surprised you, like what you thought the industry was going to be like, or what you thought working on cars was going to be like versus what it's actually turned out to be like?
Um, I guess I didn't really have any expectations. So I wasn't super surprised. I kind of knew. I don't know how to explain this. I was really nervous for my first day of school because I just had no idea what to expect. I didn't,
Well, yeah.
I've never had to buy steel toe shoes. None of this stuff, like I didn't know anything. So I think I just kept my mind as open as possible. And I just sort of keep doing that with work. And the only thing I knew for sure was that I needed to work at the place I work now. Because I was like, I will work nowhere else. I think I would probably be surprised if I worked in a place like a dealership, just because I don't really know how the dynamic works in a shop like that. The girl I went to school with, she works at a dealership now, and sometimes when she talks about her day to day, I'm just like, that's so weird. That's so different than what I'm used to.
It's a very different world. Dealership versus independent life it's a very different world.
Yeah, so
And
I think
each
that would
dealership is so
probably,
different.
oh, I bet. Hers is pretty big too. So, and it's Ford. So the worst vehicles to work on. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm kind of with you on that. I don't have a problem with Fords as cars. Like
No,
I'm not against Fords as cars. I just don't like working on them.
I've done 3 Ford truck manifolds, and one of them I think almost broke me as a person.
Oh no.
It was like 20 hours of book time, and I think it took me 3 days.
Oh
And
my
I was
goodness.
just so new still, and I'm like, yeah, this is horrible, but I'm gonna get through it.
But how did it feel when you actually got it?
The relief as it rolled away through the door was just like, thank God that's done. My new coworker, he kind of laughs at me because I do this thing where I break down the job into small victories, especially when it's a complicated, long, or new job, new to me, I guess.
Yeah.
And every time I succeed at something, whether it's getting a bowl from a really hard place or finding the next step in the procedure, whatever it is, I'm just like, I win. And he's like, I don't hear you saying I win. And I'm like, I haven't won yet. So it's kind of like the inside joke is, are you winning?
I love that. I feel like you and I would work well together because I am constantly A, talking to the car, and
Oh, yes,
B,
you have
going,
to.
I win.
Yeah. When I'm feeling really saucy and I want to intimidate the vehicle I'm working on, I like to whisper it like, I win. I win. Hey, you know what? When you talk nice to them, it makes fixing them easier. I don't know how that works.
I don't know. I kind of sometimes I agree with you that talking nice to them works, but I feel like sometimes like it doesn't work until I get nasty.
Yeah,
Like
I
people who have
definitely swear
overheard
way
me work,
more.
totally. People who have overheard me working, they're always like, I know that you're about to win when a string of curse words comes out of your mouth because it's like that, like, oh, I'm gonna freaking win.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
determination is just so real. You're like, I can't
Yes.
lose now.
Exactly.
I've had a lot of moments where something is, and I kind of always reverted back to like how I survived childbirth. So I felt like I could do anything. And now working in this job, like it's hard. I get sweaty, it challenges me. But at the end of the day, I feel like, hey, I made it through today. I learned something new. I did something really hard. Like, what can't I do?
Yeah. I love that. And amen to that. There's nothing you can't do. Love it.
Exactly. There's nothing women can't do. If I had been that little girl that when we were learning about jobs that we could do when we grew up, if someone had told me that I could fix a car, I might have started there when I was 18. But nobody offered it, it wasn't even an option.
No. And I think that's sadly still the case, right? My mom's generation wasn't allowed to take auto shop. Like they just weren't allowed. I heard from a woman just recently who said that the boys in her high school were allowed to take home ec as well as shop, but the women weren't allowed. They only were allowed to take home ec, which I thought was interesting.
That's
that
really
they
weird.
allowed the boys to take home ec. But so our parents' generation, like they weren't allowed to. When I did it, it was definitely discouraged. I was strongly encouraged not to do it. But even no matter how much progress we've made, like it's not presented to people. It wasn't presented to me. I think it's a shame. There's a lot of women, I think, who would make phenomenal technicians.
It's basically just problem solving. And the nicest thing ever is you really don't have to talk to anybody else. As a person who literally spent one-on-one time with people for 8 to 10 hours a day for 8 years, like the fact that the cars don't talk back is just beautiful.
Don't go into service advising then.
No. I see what our service advisor has to do every day, and I'm just like, no, thank you. There's a reason I'm grimy in the back.
Right. You'd probably be good at though with your experience with hairdressing because you're basically a therapist, right?
Yeah. I know that I could do it. I just would hate it.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. Have there ever been times in these, last couple, you've got 2 years or 3 years?
2-ish years.
Have there been times at all where you felt like giving up?
Definitely on individual tasks, but not really on the dream as a whole, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does make sense. That's awesome to hear.
I have been, well, and with the pandemic, everyone's struggling with their mental health. It's just a reality that we all live in. And there's been a few times in the last couple of years, not necessarily recently, but like kind of towards the beginning of the pandemic, where like I would just be under the car crying because it was hard. Whatever I was doing was hard. Yeah. And I remember in school there was one female teacher and she was awesome. And she taught engines, which was extra awesome.
Extra awesome.
But she told me, never let them see you cry. And at first I was like, yeah, I will never cry in front of the guys I work with. But then I realized, like, I don't care if they see me cry.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't mean, like, if they were bullying me or harassing me, maybe I probably wouldn't let them see me cry, but they can watch me struggle. Like, and they're usually pretty good about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they buy treats.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about if you don't speak up, if you don't speak your truth, then you'll never get what it is you need. And there's definitely something to be said. There are some environments where you don't want them to see you cry, right? But when you are in a place where it's safe to, when you do let people see that, then they can actually be supportive.
Yeah,
hopefully,
which is
ideally.
Like, I just feel so lucky. I know there are so many people out there, not even women, that just have these garbage work environments. Yeah. And I will never leave. I'm never leaving. I told that to my boss. I'm like, you can fire me. I will just show up to work the next day and pretend like it never happened.
I refuse to be fired.
Yeah. It's just like I lucked out, I guess.
Well, you were persistent, right?
Yeah.
Like you were determined, you chose, and you made it happen. I don't think luck has anything to do with that.
It was funny because when I first started, she just literally didn't have work for me. So she said, can you work at the shop part-time? And I said, sure. And so I worked at the shop Mondays and Tuesdays, and then I cut hair or did hair at the salon Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that drastic
Yeah.
shift, like it was so weird to combine the two worlds together. I don't even wear makeup anymore, let alone do my hair. And before I was spending an hour every day getting ready because you know
Right.
you have to dress the part. So it's
I know.
been kind of nice.
I think that's my favorite thing about being a technician is that I get to wear a uniform or like grungy clothes, and I don't have to put myself together before work.
I brush my teeth.
Well, that's good. That's
And I brush my hair.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Like getting ready is so much easier when you only have 4
Right.
steps, right? You still have to do the steps, but
Totally. Well, and I appreciate you saying too that like you didn't get a full-time job right off the bat, that it took like getting your foot in the door. And I've heard it said from other women like is it bad that I'm not fully committed, or it's like I'm working another job while I grow myself in this career, and is that a bad thing? And like I think 100% not. Like we do what we have to do to get our foot in the door and keep moving. I waitressed while I was getting my start as a technician. Like it was the same thing. Like talk about a switch. I'd show up at a restaurant, like,
smelling like transmission.
like transmission. Exactly. I got in the habit of wearing dark nail polish to hide the grease under my nails.
That makes sense.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just, I don't think there's any right way to do it. You know, there's no right way to do what you want to do. If you have to do something while you're trying to do the thing you want to do, then that's what needs to be done. And I don't think people need to work themselves to death. Like having 2 jobs is really hard. Going to school and having a job is really hard. Sometimes just having 1 job is really hard, you know?
Indeed.
But yeah, and I think more places need to be open to hiring women, even if they have no experience. Because if you have someone apply for a job and they really want it, how can that be bad? They're going to show up to work every day with enthusiasm. They're going to work really hard, you know? They're not just there because they feel they need to pay the bills. They're there because they want to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I do shop management coaching, and I tell people all the time, you should not be hiring for skill. You should be hiring for attitude, because that makes all the difference in the world. I can teach you how to turn a wrench, but I cannot teach you how to care. I can't teach you how to be curious. I can't teach you how to have desire. Like you either have that or you don't, right?
Absolutely. And I think Erin, like my boss, saw that in me, you know, and she gave me a chance when really no one else would, which was so awesome. Because I wanted it. I still want it. Like I said, I'm not here to make friends. Although now I'm here to make friends. I follow like so many female mechanics. I'm just like, I need to meet all the women in this trade.
I love it. Absolutely. You need to come down to Phoenix and play with us on the all-female build.
That would be amazing.
And it's warm here. Like I said, you got to get out of Canada when it's cold. Come to Phoenix. Help us out on this build. Meet some other awesome women.
You know, Canadians all have like winter homes. So my dad actually has a house in Mesa.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
Well, good. You'll have to come and visit.
Have
you been here before?
I have, yeah.
Nice.
We haven't gone in the last couple of years. So I think before the pandemic was the last year that we were there.
Yeah. You actually got into the industry like right as the pandemic was hitting.
Yeah, kind of. I worked a year, and then the pandemic hit. So it's pretty crazy. I actually went back to school in the last winter, which was, they opened the school to in-person learning. Half of it was online, which was really hard for me because paying attention is not my strong suit. I learn by doing. So sitting and listening was really difficult.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the schooling was, there was only 8 of us. There's a lot of like rules. Wow. It was pretty crazy. I was just happy to be able to go.
Yeah, that had to have been a huge challenge. I mean, obviously you don't know much different than that because that's how you started. But
Mhm.
how was the shop affected? Did you guys slow down,
Um,
or
I
were you
feel so
still
bad.
looking?
I feel so bad for my boss because she was basically working by herself with like the one staff member that we have now. He was just working casually before,
Oh, wow.
helping out with tires and oil changes. And so she was doing the majority of the work by herself. And then just with a little bit of help. I felt so bad. Like, you just kind of get through it, I guess.
Yeah. So you were looking for a job during the pandemic, essentially.
Oh, no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I had my job already.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah. So I went to school in 2018.
Okay.
Sorry. I have to
I
think.
know
Yeah,
it's so hard.
I think I went to, what year is it? No. I
Oh my
went to
God, you're like my spirit animal. I never know it. I love it. It is 2021. It is
Yeah.
it's be
So
2022
yeah,
soon.
2018, and then I worked for about a year, and then the pandemic started in 2020.
Okay.
That sounds
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Like March-ish.
You got it.
So
You got it.
I had already worked like a good amount of time
Yeah.
in the before times.
In, I know, right? In the before times.
It's
Did
so
did your
weird.
did your shop slow down a lot, or did it stay pretty
Um,
busy?
so the first that like April of 2020, everything shut down in my city. So my daycare closed. A lot of the businesses were closed. So we were trying to juggle work and our kid.
Yeah.
And my husband works, his job is really flexible, but he does work on site at a steel manufacturing plant.
Okay.
And then he works at home as well on the computer. So we were trying to juggle where I would go into work for like afternoon or whatever. And it just wasn't really working that well. So my boss actually offered to lay me off
Oh wow.
for a month because we had like a government assistance program where if you were laid off from work, they would pay you.
Yeah.
So for a month, I wasn't working. I was just home, which was actually kind of nice. It was stressful because, pandemic.
Sure. Yeah.
But I got to spend a month at home with my son, and I knew that my job was still going to be there for me when I came back. And she really just did it because I had no childcare options.
Yeah.
So she was really supportive. She's just been really great. I can't stop like praising her.
That's fun. I hope she watches this.
I hope so.
We're gonna send it to her after this is over.
It's funny because I think we both gush about each other a little. She does it about me to other people, and then I definitely do it about her. And I think, I feel so lucky to have found her.
Yeah.
And working for her is just great. And I don't, like if there's a problem, she's just open to hearing it and open to helping. And like, how could I ever have found any better job than that?
Yeah. And I'm so grateful you did. And I see, oh, I'm watching. So yes, there
Oh,
you
that's Erin.
go.
That's her other business. She makes t-shirts for women in the trades.
Okay. I didn't realize it was the same person. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
So it
cool.
basically started because you can't find shirts for women specifically. Like you
Yeah.
can find shirts for men. Like the only shirts I could ever find for women were like, my husband's my favorite mechanic.
Right.
Like, my husband's not a mechanic. I am.
I am. Yes.
So she started the company, and then some of the proceeds actually go to a scholarship fund for women in trades, which is awesome.
That's fantastic. Tell her we're coming for her next. I want to do an interview with her.
Oh my gosh, you should. She's so interesting.
I'm so glad that you found her as well. I think that's it. And not even just her, but that you found a supportive and positive environment as your first job. And I think that's just it's not the norm, and it's so cool to hear. And I'm so glad because you've got all the right tools in your toolbox. You have the right attitude, you have the right mindset. And if you'd landed in a place that wasn't supportive,
It
Who
would have been
knows?
different for
Yeah,
sure.
who knows how the story would have gone. So I'm really grateful to hear that because I think you're gonna really kick ass in this industry.
Well, and I created, so my account that we're talking on now, it actually used to be my hair account. So you can actually see like all the hair and then this just abrupt change.
Nice. Was it running with scissors and then you changed it to running with wrenches?
Yeah.
I had a suspicion and I wanted to ask you about that, so I'm glad you brought it up. I totally forgot. I love that.
But I created this account so that I could be inspired by women in the trade. And then it kind of just grew into more than that. Like I started following women in other trades like plumbers and bricklayers. And I just kind of all around the world am seeing this shift, like these amazing women. And it's not that this work is hard, like anyone can do this job. If I can do this job, someone can do this job. It's just that the barriers that have been set out for us are not physical,
Yeah.
and to see women breaking the walls and getting into these trades and succeeding, it's just so awesome.
I agree. That's the plus side of social media is getting to see all of it. And you're right. I'm seeing more and more women in all of the different trades, and it's exciting to see. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got 4 minutes left. That's it. So I feel like you've kind of said a lot of this already, but I'm going to ask you anyway, because it's what I like to end on always, is if you had the opportunity to speak to the younger you, or another little girl out there who's like you, and wants to do what you're doing, what is your words of advice to her?
Oh, go away. My husband is bugging me now.
Go away,
I felt
husband.
self-conscious for a second there. I guess really it's just that, don't doubt yourself. There really is nothing you can't do. And, my mom, when I was growing up, she said that to me. She said, you can be whatever you want to be. And when I first approached her about this career, her worry was not that I couldn't do it. It's that the industry wouldn't be welcoming. So I guess all I have to say to all the little me and the little me's out there is that if you look hard enough, you will find the place that you fit. And you just have to keep bugging them until they give you a job, right, Erin? Don't harass people.
Don't harass people, but be persistent. Yes.
Yeah.
And amen to that. I absolutely love it. If you look hard enough, you will find the place that is perfect for you.
Well, and I think too, if that place doesn't exist, you got to make it. I think that's what my boss did. She made it. I mean, part of it was probably because she doesn't like people telling her what to do, which I get that.
I can't relate to that at all.
Yeah, no. But another part of it is like, if I can't get the experience I want, I'm going to have to make it. And I think that's what she did. And she did an amazing job.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. Cheers to you. Cheers to her for giving you a chance. And I'm excited to see where your career takes you. I love that you had the courage to say no to what you were doing and do something different. I think that is something that a lot of people wish they had the courage to do. And I think your story is very inspiring for a lot of folks. So I appreciate you sharing it with me and with everybody who's watching. So thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing your story and agreeing to hang out with me for a little while. And you can tell your husband I'm giving you back to him now. And he can...
He's kind of used to it by now. I've been like on TV a couple times already.
Oh, well, excuse me.
It's not a big deal.
Had I known, we'd be talking about all of that. That's awesome.
It really wasn't a big deal. It's just it was like a commercial on our local station.
Oh, nice. No, that's cool. So you'll have to come down to Phoenix. You can tell me all about the rest. We can continue to get to know each other. I'm really excited to meet you. And I encourage everybody who's watching this to go and check her out, check out her page, show her some support and some love as she continues on this journey. And make sure you come back next week to meet another awesome tradeswoman. I appreciate you guys all tuning in and hanging out with me for an hour. I appreciate you spending your time with me. Have a great rest of your evening. And everybody else, Thank you for tuning in. Be good to yourselves, be good to one another, and we'll see you next time.